We also heard the Treasurer Jim Chalmers flagging fresh cost of living relief amid soaring inflation and a healthy budget. Our political reporter Olivia Casely joins us in Canberra now. Olivia, this isn't something you see every day. We saw there the Treasurer also saying thank you to the Shadow Finance Minister, Jane Hume.
That's right, Ash, rather. So the Treasurer, he's floated the balloon on further cost of living relief, and that's because the surplus is bigger than expected. And it follows comments that he'd made in a speech last night where he explained that those that were already struggling financially before this current cost of living crisis, they're actually being disproportionately impacted by the current situation, which is why traditional fiscal policy measures aren't quite cutting the mustard. But as you say, he must be glued to Sky News because he was pretty keen to highlight some praise he received from Shadow Finance Minister Jane Hume, who was basically praising his restraint when it comes to the budget.
Now, we have received support today from an unlikely place. We welcome the support now of the opposition to the Albanese Labor government's approach to responsible economic management. The Shadow Finance Minister has said today, in supporting the approach that we are taking to repairing the budget that we inherited from the Liberal and National parties, she has backed in the approach that we are taking. This is very welcome and it's very overdue.
Shadow Finance Minister Jane Hume this morning said it was good that Dr Chalmers hadn't dipped into that surplus, but from his comments earlier that there could be cost of living relief, it looks like he hasn't ruled that out.
From what I've seen from Jim Chalmers' speech today or last night, he's moving in the right direction. The most important thing he can do to bring down inflation is to rein in those spending ambitions. It takes an awful lot of discipline from a Treasurer and indeed from a Finance Minister to say no.
And meanwhile, Olivia, the grilling has begun as the big four banks face pretty tough questions in Canberra today over whether customers are actually receiving a fair deal or not.
Yeah, so one of the key issues is that the banks have been very quick to pass on the 12 interest rate hikes, but it's a different story when it comes to savings accounts, which have only risen between 1.05% and 2.15%. The banks are also being questioned on things such as online scams and also the closure of branches across the nation. We heard some interesting comments from ANZ's Chief Executive Shane Elliott earlier, and he says that they're actually yet to see a widespread distress when it comes to mortgages. Here are some of his comments earlier.
Even those customers who bought perhaps at the top of the market, and even those who are first home buyers, and they tend to be the ones that borrow a little bit more for understandable reasons, even they are performing remarkably well. And so we're not seeing stress. Are they more stressed than everybody else? Sure. While some customers are struggling, most are managing their way through the current financial pressure. For example, only $6 of every $1,000 in our Australian home loan portfolio was overdue by more than 90 days. That is better than it was before the pandemic.
We also heard from the Treasurer earlier that the government will be releasing its economic wellness framework, a concept we're borrowing from New Zealand, in the next couple of weeks, Ash.